With the Fate EXTELLA games, the cross-section between the hack-and-slash genre and Fate intersect. After playing the first title, there was a great degree of uncertainty as to the quality of its upcoming sequel. The previous game had a bloated storyline that felt overcomplicated and incredibly drawn out in a way only series writer Kanoko Nasu could provide. Not only did the game lean heavily on the fan service, the gameplay also felt incredibly clunky and the tug-of-war mechanics quickly got on my nerves. Now that the sequel, Fate EXTELLA Link, is out, hopefully, those issues have been ironed out. The story of Fate EXTELLA Link is a sort of mixed bag. Whereas the game's predecessor felt excessively intricate, Fate EXTELLA Link dials down the complexity far too low. Following the story of the previous title, the sequel starts off with a new threat arising along with newcomer servant Charlemagne joining the crew. The concept of idealism conflicting with reality is clearly present, hitting similar beats to ones from Fate Stay Night. However, the story is a bit of a disappointment considering how heavily toned down in nuance and personality it is compared to the past title. Generally speaking, the narrative this time around is very straightforward, with most events being of little consequence. Along with the simpler story, the established cast from the first game just seems to be along for the ride. They retain their colorful quirks, but they don't contribute much to the actual plot progression. With the exception of Charlemagne, the servants on the team don't really play an active role in the plot. The first game felt a lot more character driven, with the three main servants taking a lead on the plot, resulting in a more unpredictable storyline. As the game allows the player to select levels from a timeline-based select screen, there's easy access to the branching storylines. However, these branches felt far too similar to truly justify the repetition. Regardless, it gave me light Drakengard 3 vibes with the multiple endings and story branch setup. However, Drakengard 3's story had so much to offer and concluded in a distinct and beautiful manner, whereas Fate EXTELLA Link's felt underwhelming, though admittedly serviceable. Mechanically, Fate EXTELLA Link simplifies the general power struggle from the first game by making friendly NPCs actually competent. Rather than having to solely rely on your character to defend sectors, supporting NPC servants hold their own. This reduces the tug-of-war over sectors, thus resulting in a more typical hack-and-slash experience. Basic enemies are often just there to take damage, while the stronger variants can actually deal damage from time to time. Playing on the normal difficulty definitely lacked any real degree of challenge. The combat has been overhauled from the previous title. Where the original felt closer to a conventional Dynasty Warriors title, Fate EXTELLA Link adds its own arguably contrived spin to various forms of attack. Combat now features a Moondrive gauge that fills up as the player defeats enemies. Once the gauge is full, the player can activate their Moondrive state, allowing them to build up their Noble Phantasm gauge as well as unleash their drive skill before the gauge runs out. After the Noble Phantasm gauge is full, the player can activate their servant's Noble Phantasm, in which the servant reveals their true name in a lengthy cinematic cutscene that deals heavy area of effect damage to all nearby enemies. Admittedly, the Moondrive mechanic doesn't really flow well with me, as I usually cleared out most enemies before finishing off with my drive skill. Besides the Moondrive component, the combat features an active skill system that really changed up the gameplay. These skills come in various forms and rely on cooldown timers. They overshadow the basic combo-based combat in favor of quick, effective bursts of damage along with super armor during execution. Though there are a lot of different types of skills, I found very little use for any of them besides the ones that dealt damage. Though the idea of a skill system seems pretty cool, in practice, it added little more than a less satisfying replacement for the core light attack to heavy attack combo system already in place. Regardless, there is an undeniable satisfaction in seeing huge groups of enemies getting knocked around by your servant. Though the novelty quickly wore off, the roster is pretty big this time. Unfortunately, the characters play very similarly, and oftentimes, I would just spam active offensive skills regardless of who I played as. Admittedly, it was enjoyable to play as various characters from the Fate universe, as shallow of a compliment as that may be. Presentation-wise, Fate EXTELLA Link feels a bit shabby. Though the 2D art looks great for the most part, the 3D models lack definition similar to the previous title. Many of the character designs stand out and really add to the experience, despite the eyebrow-raising design choices that pop up every now and then. The levels vary heavily in terms of visuals, but nothing really stuck out environmentally due to the fact that most areas are still segmented off rather than being truly connected. The soundtrack for Fate EXTELLA Link felt incredibly generic and uninteresting, despite being composed by Monica, the studio that brought us the gorgeous soundtracks of Nier and Nier Automata. Despite the general low-budget feel and repetitive gameplay, I enjoyed my time with Fate EXTELLA Link. The game provides a solid, streamlined experience worth playing for fans of the series, but beyond that, it's hard to recommend. Though the game provides a slew of playable characters, there was little substantial variation between them. The shallow gameplay and subpar story leave much to be desired, but in the end, it's still an enjoyable and satisfying hack and slash experience for fans of the series. Thanks for watching the review. If you enjoyed it, feel free to like the video and consider subscribing to the channel. If you want more, here are some of my other videos. The original review was written for DarkStation, and I was provided a review copy. See you all next time when I finally talk about Kingdom Hearts 3.